The White House is facing growing pressure to take decisive action after Iran-backed militants killed 3 U.S. service members and injured at least 34 more in a weekend drone strike. That attack came on a small American outpost in northwestern Jordan, not far from the country's border with Iraq and Syria. And we're now learning that the enemy drone was mistaken for an American drone, allowing it to slip past the outpost air defenses. Our forces in the region have been targeted at least 160 times since mid-October. But now President Biden is vowing to respond. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-host Emily Campagno and Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Fox News contributor and host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on Outkick, Tomi Lahren, and Fox News contributor and senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Mark Thiessen. But first, let's go live to Peter Doocy at the White House with more details. Peter.
Kayleigh, when President Biden says that the U.S. is going to respond at a time and manner of our choosing, that is something he's going to have to coordinate with the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, who we just heard from for the first time back at work since a few weeks of recovering from prostate cancer surgery.
Let me start with my outrage and sorrow for the death of 3 brave U.S. troops in Jordan and for the other troops who were wounded. The President and I will not tolerate attack on U.S. forces, and we will take all necessary actions to defend the U.S. and our troops.
Mitch McConnell has an idea about how to do that. He says our enemies are emboldened, and they will remain so until the United States imposes serious crippling costs not only on frontline terrorist proxies, but on their Iranian sponsors who wear American blood as a badge of honor. John Cornyn, even more direct, he just posts, target Tehran. And we have no reason to think an attack against the Iranian homeland is coming. But administration officials tracking these attacks that are bankrolled by Iran are well aware they are becoming more dangerous.
I certainly can't deny the fact that there have been a series of attacks now increasingly lethal over weeks and months, which is why the president is going to be reviewing what the appropriate response is going forward.
And the fact this is happening today, January 29th, means that Iran is just ignoring President Biden's warnings on January 12th and on October 11th. And as Iran has acted up over this president's first term, he has said that the United States is prepared to defend its interests. But at the same time, he has also said that the United States does not want a conflict with Iran. Kayleigh?
Peter Doocy, thank you. Mark, so let's talk about President Biden's response. He has struck the Islamic resistance, which is the area we're talking about, the Iranian proxy, and the Houthis. I believe it's 8 and 9 times respectively. But a Politico piece took us inside his decision to strike the Houthis after they harassed U.S. ships, commercial ships, and something stood out to me in it. So Politico, inside Biden's decision to strike the Houthis, the Thursday strike, this was mid-January, ended weeks of growing pressure on Biden to respond militarily to Houthi attacks. The U.S. military had drawn up more forceful options. Listen to this, as early as the first week of December, but at this point, senior Biden officials agreed striking the Houthis directly was not the best course. The piece goes on to say, even when he ordered the strike, it took more than 7 days to get a plan of action deployed.
And at one point in one of the strikes, he warned them ahead of time so they wouldn't kill anybody, just to take out the missiles. I mean, this is such weakness. First of all, treating the Houthis like they're an independent actor just shows complete incompetence. They are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Iranian regime. They would not be striking U.S. forces if it wasn't on direct orders from Tehran. So when Donald Trump was president, he drew a very clear red line. He said to the Iranian regime, if either you or your proxies kill a single American, we will not respond against your proxies. We will respond against Iran. And when they crossed that red line, he took out Qasem Soleimani, the terrorist mastermind of the Iranian regime. And guess what happened? Everyone's terrified that, we could get into a broader war. Peace broke out. The Iranians backed down, and he brokered not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 Arab-Israeli peace accords. Because the Iranian regime doesn't want to get into a war with the United States because they know they'd be crushed. They can't afford to get a war. So if you project strength and you impose a cost on the Iranians, you don't give them 160 tries, and then on the 161st, when they kill an American, then you go after the proxies. The first time they do it, you take a strike at Iran, and the message to Tehran should be, every time an American dies, Qasem Soleimani's successor dies too. The most dangerous job in the world is to be Quds Force commander.
Yeah, well said. And I mean, Harris, as Keith Kellogg told me, my former colleague, he said, yes, it was killing Soleimani, But on top of that, we publicly broadcast there are 52 Iranian targets. We back-channeled to the Swiss and said, guess who's next? Khomeini, the supreme leader.
For every one of the hostages that had been taken in 1979. He picked the number of targets and he tweeted it out. I've selected a number of targets for every one of the hostages you took in 1979.
And you know what that is? That is understanding that you can couple what your response is right back. You can retaliate, you know, an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
You can do that with that specificity and let your enemy know that I'm serious.
Yeah.
When you're arbitrary, I mean, try to teach a kid anything if you're arbitrary. You certainly can't potty train them. You got to have a plan. But I would say this takes me back to the time, the spring, right after Biden was in office, when we heard tale of troops along the border between Russia and Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And then by October of that year, we heard that there were north of 100,000 of them. And then by Christmas, we heard that there were 150,000 of them. And by February, what were they doing?
Yeah.
They were invading.
Yes.
Yeah. So, look, we can sit back and they can hit us 160 plus times since October 17th. We retaliate about 15 times or so, half measure. And now, as Jennifer Griffin reported to me last hour, oh, you know, there's an indication that they've turned the corner. But she reminded me, but Harris, it's all up to Biden. Yeah. So all the generals, everybody can give those plans that you're talking about, Kayleigh. But it's finally his decision. What will he choose? Remember Afghanistan? He was given a different way out.
Yep.
Which way did he choose?
Yeah, and his favorite word seems to be don't. It's a word that the Iranians don't seem to understand. It's not really a foreign policy philosophy or worldview, but here he goes. Let's watch him.
And what's the message to Iran?
Don't.
It was very important to send a very clear message to anyone who might seek to take advantage of the conflict in Gaza to threaten our personnel here or anywhere else in the region. Don't do it.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran?
Don't. Don't. I've already delivered the message to Iran. They know not to do anything.
Emily, so they don't understand the word don't, but they do understand the unfreezing of the $6 billion, the not enforcing the oil sanctions, the delisting of the Houthis. They understand those weak actions.
That's right. What they understand is that there is no deterrence whatsoever on the part of this administration. What they understand is that any message whatsoever coming from this administration, if it's anything less than abject weakness, that's what it means. The sad reality is that these deaths are the result of Biden's policies. They are the result of his fear of escalation. Every decision coming out of this administration is a fear of something, and it is a fear of escalation, and therefore there's no peace through strength. There's no message behind it of actual deterrence, and the reality is that he has been warned for quite some time that the inevitable would happen, and the inevitable was American deaths, and especially in the form of these drones that were mistaken for our own. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I also agree with Senator Tom Cotton, who said the only answer to these attacks must be devastating military retaliation against Iran's terrorist forces. Anything less will confirm Joe Biden as a coward unworthy of being commander-in-chief. We have appeased Iran. We have capitulated to their demands. We have paid for all of this through back channels and upfront. There is zero, anything at all, any decision we've ever made that has put anything less than set the table for these horrific deaths. And when the president says, God bless our troops, or my heart is heavy, it means nothing to me.
Yeah, you know, Tommy, in life there is cause and there is effect. And I thought, how best can we illustrate this? So I asked for us to pull up these series of headlines. Look at this. UNRWA, that's the UN refugee body. United States announces restoration of U.S. $150 million to support Palestine refugees. That's under Biden. So they restored funding the Trump administration cut. Well, what happens? NPR, 12 UNRWA staff members are accused of involvement in Hamas attack against Israel. Despicable. Then you move on over to the Houthis. PBS, in foreign policy shift, Biden lifts terror designation for Houthis. Then what happens? Here we go. AP, Houthi rebels strike a U.S.-owned ship off the coast. Cause, effect, Biden is the connective tissue.
You'd think after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the disastrous withdrawal, this administration would have learned their lesson, but they don't. And speaking of don't, that's all this president can say. Don't, and we shall respond. 3 U.S. service members lost their lives, their families grieving, and the most he can say is, we shall respond, or don't. He stands there in a cafe with a smoothie and says don't, and that is supposed to give us comfort as Americans. That's supposed to give our allies comfort. No, it gives our enemies comfort. You know, to my Labradoodle, I say don't, and my Labradoodle has more respect for me than Iran has for Joe Biden, and my Labradoodle is going to do whatever he wants to do when I say don't, because he quite simply doesn't care. He wishes he could. But when Biden sits there and says don't, and then when we talk about Lloyd Austin and you talk about, oh, he's just now returned, well, that's wonderful. We're all praying for his health. But I can't help but think, what if this had happened and we lost 3 service members a couple weeks ago when no one knew where he was? So it gives us no comfort. It gives our enemies a lot of comfort. And the most we hear from our president is don't.
Don't. And then this, Mark, I just want to throw this to you. We can't leave without this. This is a White House administration official. They do these background briefings at the White House with reporters. So this is January 12th, and here's what they had to say. In terms of consequences on Iran, we have a long-standing and deep pressure campaign that the United States has conducted. Do they have a long-standing and deep pressure campaign?
They do not. I mean, Trump did. they had only like $7 billion in assets when he left office, in state assets, and they're up in the tens of billions now. And that's the money they give to all the proxies. I mean, I think both Tommy and Harris hit it on the head. All these things are connected. It starts in Afghanistan. You project weakness in Afghanistan, that emboldens Putin to go into Ukraine. Then Biden refuses to give the Ukrainians the weapons they need to win. If he had given them everything that we're giving them now in the summer of 2022, they would have won the war by now when Russia was on its heels. Instead, he lets the Russians, he doesn't want to win, he just wants to not lose. Yep. And that sends a message to Iran, which then emboldens them and Hamas to carry out the attacks of October 7th. And then we don't do anything after 160 strikes, and finally they kill an American. It starts in Afghanistan, goes through Kyiv, goes to Tehran, goes to Hamas, goes to that base in Jordan. It's all connected.
Biden's world, it is a very scary place.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.